This tutorial will teach you how to save variables to a shared object. A shared object allows you to save your data in a more permanent manner, which is like a file, which will then be saved onto either a hard drive or a server, which allows you to then recall it the next time you open up your application. So if you open up the file that came with this tutorial, you'll find this, which is pretty much three things. There's a text input box, there's two buttons, one save button, one load button, and there is this output box, which is dynamic. Okay, and then if you click on our timeline, press F9, we have some Actionscript here. So the first little part, this is importing the ability to use shared objects. This stops the timeline, and then we have two variables. The first one is our string variable that will link to our text box where we type in our information, and then we have our shared object, which is created here. So this string of code actually creates the shared object so it exists, and we're going to call it my local data, which you can see here and here. But I mean, you could call it anything. You can call it pumpkins and it would still work, but give it something like logical. Okay, so now our shared object exists, but we need somewhere to interact with it, and that's what our save and load buttons are for. So jumping back to our actions layer, we're going to chuck in some code here. So I am going to just copy in something that I prepared earlier, which is some code linking to a save button. So here's our save button, we've got our handlers, and what we have here is stext, which is our string that we just made, and it equals whatever happens in our text input box. So whatever we type in that text input box right here will get saved as that variable stext. Okay, but that might be great, but it's not going to be permanent. So if we close the application, it'll disappear. That's why we need to use our shared object, which is this next little section of code, which I'm going to copy in here now, which is linking to our my local data shared object. Okay, so this line says my local data, and we've given it a subdirectory name. So player name is the name of the file within the shared object. So you could make multiple saves, so to speak, and give them different names. But this one is going to be called player name, and that equals stext, which is our variable. So what it says is our local data equals our variable, and that makes them the same thing. And then what we have here is a trace line. Now tracing is just a way to ensure that your stuff is working correctly, and that'll pop up down the bottom here when you are testing your movie. So this will pop up and tell us save to share object to make sure that we know it's working. And then this last little bit, very important, we're flushing it. That was a joke. Now flush means that it is going to save it to a hard drive location permanently. So if we don't include that, the data won't be saved permanently. So the next time we close it and reopen it, it won't be there. But if we flush it, it will be. So now our data will be there the next time we reopen it, but there's no way for us to load it, which is why we need a load button, which is our next little section of text here. And I'm going to copy that in. And there it is, btn load. So same stuff as before, more handlers. And then we have our load data here. So my local data player name is what we load, and we trace loaded data so that we know that it comes in. And then this text output box equals our storage object, which is player name. And then it traces it for us here so to know that that's what our player name is. Now it sounds a little bit complicated, but if we have a look at it, and we'll see how it works when we trace it, it'll make a bit more sense. So if we press X here, press Control Enter, here we have our little program, and we're going to type in Bob. And I should probably actually make that smaller so you can see the output box. And if we press save, you'll see how it says saved to shared object, because that's what we put into the trace. And sure, that's great. Let's close it and press Control Enter again to reopen it and see if we can load. And sure enough, there it is. You can see data has been loaded, the name is Bob, and that pops up in there. Now, there's one more thing we can do just to check if the data's in there without having to press load, and that is permanently have one more line of code at the bottom. So if we click here, press F9, I'm going to stick one more line down here, which is a trace. So this will load the second the application opens up, and that'll check if there's anything saved in there for us. So So it's going to trace the current name which is saved into our storage object. So if we press X, Control Enter, and you can see it down here, the current name equals Bob, and if we change it, let's call it Sally, and press Save, Save to Shared Object. When we press Load, there's Sally, we close it, we reopen it, and it's Sally again. Okay, but obviously it's not appearing unless we press Load. Alright, that's the first lesson on how to save to a shared object using a variable.